You want to know a secret about GRE Quant? Practically everything on the Quant section is stuff you learned freshman year in high school. The test isn't hard because the math is hard. The test is hard because of the tricky ways they ask the questions. So the way to get a great score isn't to spend hours and hours studying math, most of which you already know. The way to get a great score is to understand the tricks they use in the questions, and guess what? I'm about to show you the three most important ones. The GRE is hard not because the math is hard, but because they ask questions in tricky ways, and that's okay, because you're about to learn three of their biggest tricks, and after you know how these work, your score is going to rocket up. The other thing that's going to rocket your score higher is a free 2-week Crash Course boot camp. It's designed to raise your GRE score 5 points fast. Again, it's completely free, and you can sign up for it right down there in the description. On the test, plus and minus signs always mean factors. So that means if you get this question, the first thing I want you to see is that you have a minus sign. Now you might be tempted to cross off the 14s off the top and the bottom, but you can't. You can only cross stuff off that's multiplied. You can't cross things off that are part of a plus or minus phrase. Instead, ask yourself, what do you have that's the same on both sides of the minus sign? Well, you have a 14. So factor the 14 out to the left and put what's left over inside the parentheses. Now you know you've done this right if you can multiply the 14 back through the parentheses and get back to where you started. You see, we don't want to change the value of anything. We just want to rewrite it because, just like magic, that 14 isn't added to anything anymore. It's multiplied. So we get to cross it off and we can say, yes, this was in fact the stupidest way in the world to write 12. C is your right answer. Good job. Remember, when it comes to exponents, you can only add exponents if both the base and the exponent are the same. So if they give you this question, before you immediately guess answer choice A and get the question wrong, I want you to notice that you have a minus sign. What does a minus sign tell you to do? That's right, factor. So what we want to do is see what we have that's the same on the left and right side of that minus sign. Well, we certainly have a 3 on the left and right side of the minus sign. In fact, we have 33s on the left and right side of the minus sign. So we factor out 3 to the 30th and put what's left over, 3 to the 4th minus 1, inside the parentheses. Now, 3 to the 4th happens to be 81. Now that's a handy one to know. It saves time on the test. The other way to think about it is that 3 to the 4th is the same as 3 squared times 3 squared, or 9 times 9. Either way, you get to 81. Now 81 minus 1 is 80, so that is answer choice C. Nice job. Okay, first off, I hope you can see that they put you on a number line. Earth is basically at 0.0, then star C is at 0.7 to the 12th, star B is at 0.7 to the 11th, and you're being asked, what point is star A at? Now, this is a classic question type. They're trying to confuse you and intimidate you with stupid numbers. Don't get thrown off. You're going to figure this out just like you would if you were given regular numbers. Let's say they told you that point C was 15 and point B was 13. Then where would point A be? Well, point A would be at 11. Now, how did you get there? Well, you subtracted 15 from 13 to get the distance between each star. So C minus B gets you the distance between the stars. Then you took 13 and subtracted 2 to get to the 11, which is where point A is. So point B minus the distance between the stars, in this case 2, gives you the position of star A, in this case 11. So we're going to do the exact same thing, but we're going to do it with the stupid exponent numbers they gave you. So first, we need to subtract C from B to get the distance. So that means 7 to the 12th minus 7 to the 11th. Now remember, plus and minus signs always mean factor. So we have 7 to the 11th on each side of that minus sign. So we factor that out, and then we put what's left over in the parentheses. So we get 7 to the 11th times 7 minus 1, or 7 to the 11th times 6. That's the distance between each star. Okay, next step. We take point B and we subtract the distance, and that's going to give us the value of point A. So that means we take 7 to the 11th minus 7 to the 11th times 6. And remember, minus signs always mean factor. So we have 7 to the 11th on the same side of that minus sign. So we factor out 7 to the 11th. We put what's left over in the parentheses. That's 1 minus 6. So we're left with 7 to the 11th times negative 5. That's our answer. It means that star A is somewhere to the left of Earth. It's like on the negative sign of the number line, but that's okay. The distance to Earth is still 5 times 7 to the 11th. Okay, very nice job. Now, this is a really hard question, so I'd highly recommend doing that one a couple of times from the top until you're really comfortable and you've got it. Because if you can do this one, you can handle almost anything they throw at you. So one of the most powerful tools you have when dealing with hard fractions is to multiply the common denominator through the entire equation. And the reason is, as you'll see, that eliminates the denominators altogether. And the sooner you get rid of denominators, the sooner your life gets easier. Now, the easiest way to find a common denominator is to simply multiply the denominators together. And in this case, the common denominator is root 3 times x, so we multiply that through the entire equation. Then we just cross stuff off that's the same on the top and the bottom. So on the first term, the root 3's cross off. On the second term, the root 3's cross off. And on the other side of the equation, the x's cross off. And just like that, we have a very simple equation and not a denominator in sight. So this is pretty simple to solve. We end up with 2x equals 2 times 3. Remember, root 3 times root 3 equals 3. So 2x equals 6. That means x equals 3. Very nice job. Okay, this one works the very same way as the last one. Multiply the common denominator through the entire equation. In this case, we can use 4x as the common denominator. Now, if you wanted to use 8x, that's fine too. It'll totally work. All right, now we just cancel stuff off. So the x's cancel on the first term, the x's cancel on the second term, and 2 goes into 4 2 times. The 4x's cancel on the third term. And remember, you have to multiply through the entire equation, so make sure to multiply the 4x on the right side of the equation too. Now this becomes pretty easy. 4 times 4 is 16 minus 2 times 5 is 10 plus 6, because we had 6 left over on the third term, equals 12x. And notice we don't have a denominator in sight, so solving this is a breeze. We get 12 equals 12x, x equals 1. Okay, great job. So anytime you're asked to multiply exponents together, that's code for get the bases the same. And that's because when you have the bases the same, multiplying exponents is really easy. Let's take a look at this one. So we have 27 squared times 9 cubed. Now 27 and 9, they'll both reduce down to a base of 3, because 27 is the very same thing as 3 cubed. Now we still have to square that, so we get 3 cubed squared. And 9 is the very same thing as 3 squared. Now we still have to cube that, so we get 3 squared cubed. Now to raise an exponent to another exponent, you multiply the exponents together. So we get 3 to the 6th because 3 times 2 is 6, times 3 to the 6th because 2 times 3 is 6. Now here's the great part. As soon as you have the bases the same, all you do is keep the base and add the exponents. So this just became 3 to the 12th. Very well done. Okay, take a second to look this question over. Pause the video if you need to. Okay, well, it certainly seems intimidating and confusing, but it's really not. By the time we get all the bases the same, this thing's going to be a snap. So the first thing we need to do is we need to turn that 27 into 3 cubed. 27 is the very same thing as 3 cubed, but then it also needs to be raised to the k. That's fine. We can leave it like that right now. Now 18, we can break down 18 because 18 is the same thing as 2 times 9. Now it's 18 to the 12th, so it has to be 2 to the 12th times 9 to the 12th. Okay, next step. Well, that 9 isn't broken down all the way, and we want to get all the bases the same, so let's turn that 9 into 3 times 3. Now it's 9 to the 12th, so it has to be 3 to the 12th times 3 to the 12th. Okay, look, now we got all the bases the same. We just have 2's and 3's in our bases. One more step. 3 cubed raised to the k is the very same thing as 3 to the 3k, because when you raise an exponent to an exponent, you multiply them together, and just like that, we have all the bases the same. Next step, we get to do something great. We get to cross off the 2 to the 12th because we have 2 to the 12th on each side, and there's not a plus or minus sign in sight, so we actually just get to cross those off. And what that leaves us with is 3 to the 3k equals 3 to the 24th, so 3k must equal 24, k must equal 8. Nice job. The key was get all the bases the same, then everything becomes a lot easier. Okay, this totally messed up, confusing, and intimidating statement is equal to which answer choice? Okay, don't panic. We know for sure that plus signs mean factor. So the test is just screaming at us to factor that statement. So we will. We have 2 to the k plus 1 by every single plus sign, so we'll factor that out. And then we'll put what's left over inside the parentheses. Now we know we've done it right if we can multiply that 2 to the k plus 1 back through the parentheses and get back to our original statement. And we can, so that's perfect. All right, next step, let's just add the stuff inside the parentheses and we get 4. All right, now we're in the land of multiplying exponents. And when we multiply exponents, that always means get the bases the same. And that's no problem because 4 breaks down to 2 squared. And now that we have the bases the same, we multiply by keeping the base and adding the exponent. So what we get is 2 to the k plus 3, answer choice D. Very good job. That's a very high-level question. Okay, great job. So the 3 tricks are number 1, plus and minus signs mean factor. Number 2, multiply the common denominator through the entire fraction in the very first step, because that gets rid of the denominator and we hate dealing with denominators. And number 3, multiplying exponents means get the bases the same. As soon as you have the bases the same, it's really easy to multiply the exponents together. Now these 3 tricks come up all the time on the test. So knowing these 3 tricks is definitely going to increase your score. And don't forget about your free gift. It's a free 2-week crash course designed to raise your GRE score 5 points fast. It's completely free. You can sign up right down in the description.